There comes a moment in every life when the invisible currents begin to move, when something greater than what you have known starts pressing its way into your world. These moments are not accidents. They are not coincidences. They are signals, clear, powerful signals, that your inner state has shifted and reality must now follow. Big changes are coming, and they're coming quickly. But before they reach your door, they first arise within your mind. Everything begins in consciousness. Your life, your opportunities, your breakthroughs, they are shaped and fueled by what you accept as true in the quiet places within you. Long before a change appears in the outer world, it forms as an inner conviction, a feeling, a silent knowing that something new has already begun. If you want to know what is coming, you do not look at circumstances. You look at the story you are telling yourself. You look at the state you occupy. Because what you assume, what you consciously or unconsciously accept as your reality, must harden into fact. This is why preparation matters. Not physical preparation, not waiting for the perfect moment, but inner readiness, inner alignment. To receive something new, you must become the version of yourself who already has it. You cannot wait for change to prove itself to you. You must first prove to yourself that the change is already yours. You must claim it in imagination, hold it in feeling, and live from it as though it were already the world you inhabit. This is how you prepare for big changes, by entering the state of the wish fulfilled, by dwelling in the end long before the end arrives, by choosing the story that aligns with the future you desire. You may not see evidence yet, you may not see movement, but do not mistake silence for stagnation. The invisible is always working, always rearranging, always shifting pieces into place. When your inner shift is complete, the outer change will rush in with a speed that surprises you. What took years to resist will take moments to manifest once you accept it within. So get ready, not by waiting, by assuming, not by hoping, by knowing, not by chasing, by becoming. Because after, hold the feeling of the life you desire, rest in it, saturate your mind with it, and watch as your reality bends to match the state you now occupy. The changes you've been seeking are already on their way. They are not distant. They are not uncertain. They are waiting for one thing: your readiness to receive. And the moment you decide fully and finally that the shift has already happened, that is the moment the world will mirror it back to you. Big changes are coming. They're coming fast. Prepare your inner world now, and you will be ready to receive everything that belongs to you. Inner transformation precedes outer transformation because every experience you meet in the physical world is first conceived, nurtured, and formed within the invisible realm of consciousness. Nothing enters your life until it has taken root in your inner state. You are not reacting to the world. You are reacting to the reflection of your own assumptions, beliefs, and dominant self-concept. The world you see is not separate from you. It is the mirror of your inner arrangement. When your inner dialogue changes, When the secret conversations you hold with yourself begin to align with who you desire to become, the world must shift in obedience to that new identity. It cannot resist you because consciousness is the only creative power, and your reality is its natural outpicturing. You do not transform your life by wrestling with circumstances or forcing external outcomes. You transform your life by shifting the state from which you think, feel, and expect. If you hold the inner conviction that you are fulfilled, worthy, chosen, guided, and destined for good, life rises to meet that conviction. Outer change is simply the echo of inner assumption. As long as you continue to identify with the old version of yourself, the version that doubts, fears, hesitates, or believes that life is happening to you, you remain locked in the same repeating cycles. But the moment you adopt a new state of being, a new concept of yourself, the old reality dissolves. It cannot survive because it no longer has a host. Consciousness withdraws its attention from the old pattern, and whatever you no longer give life to must wither away. This inner work is subtle yet powerful. It begins in the quiet moments, when you choose a new thought, when you decline an old assumption, when you refuse to entertain a belief that contradicts your deepest desire. In those moments, you are rearranging the creative blueprint that molds your future. Transformation happens long before the evidence arrives. You may still see the old world around you, but the shift is already in motion because you have moved within. Just as a seed breaks open beneath the soil unseen, your new reality is forming in the invisible. Trust the process. Trust the unseen, trust the state you have chosen to embody, for it carries within it all the instructions needed to reshape your world. When inner transformation becomes your way of life, you stop chasing outcomes. You no longer beg, plead, or hope. You assume. You assume the feeling of the fulfilled desire, and in doing so, you signal to consciousness the version of reality you are choosing. Life simply arranges itself to match. Outer changes come not by effort, but by alignment. They come quickly, naturally, and often in ways you could not have devised with logic alone. The world bends to the inner shift. Assumption creates reality. What you accept as true begins to form around you. This principle is not mere philosophy. It is the active force shaping every corner of your life. The world you see, the experiences you walk through, and the results you encounter are all mirrors reflecting your inner acceptance of what is possible, what is allowed, and what you believe yourself worthy of receiving. Life does not hand you what you desire. It hands you what you assume, what you believe yourself worthy of receiving. Life does not hand you what you desire. It hands you what you assume. And your assumptions, whether conscious or unconscious, are always at work. Most people move through life believing circumstances have the final say. They wait for evidence before they believe, wait for signs before they trust, and wait for results before they claim. But the deeper truth is this: the moment you assume something to be true, you give it permission to enter your world. The moment you accept a new identity within yourself, life begins reshaping itself to reflect that identity. This is why two people can live in the same environment, face the same obstacles, and yet produce completely different outcomes. The difference is never the world around them. It is the world within them. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is not hoping. It is not daydreaming. It is the inner conviction that something already is. When you assume a state, you inhabit it. You begin to think from it, walk from it, speak from it, and respond from it. You embody it before it exists physically. And that embodiment is what draws it into the physical realm. Everything begins as an unseen inner acceptance before it becomes a seen outer expression. Think back to moments in your life when you simply knew something good was coming, and it came. Or times when you feared the worst, and it unfolded exactly as imagined. You were not predicting, you were assuming. Assumption organizes your perception, and perception organizes your actions, and together they organize your reality. You are never dealing with random outcomes. You are dealing with the harvest of the inner states you have been dwelling in, consciously or unconsciously. The power of assumption lies in its neutrality. It does not care whether you assume success or failure, abundance or lack. It simply reflects. This is why mastering your inner dialogue, noticing your habitual self-talk, and becoming aware of the identity you repeatedly return to is essential. You cannot assume defeat daily and expect victory to appear. You cannot assume rejection and expect deep connection. You cannot assume limitation and expect expansion. Your life rises to meet the truth you accept as yours. When you begin to assume with awareness, intention, and inner certainty, you step into your creative power. You begin shaping your world from within instead of reacting to it from without. You no longer ask, "Will this happen?" but instead declare, "It is happening." You no longer wait to see, you choose to see from the end. And when you persist in that assumption, even when the outer world seems unchanged, you activate the unseen forces that rearrange your reality on your behalf. Big changes arrive the moment you align your inner state with your desired outcome. Transformation is never triggered by external events. It is initiated by an internal shift so subtle, yet so powerful, that the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match it. The moment you stop hoping, wishing, and waiting, and instead begin to feel the reality of what you desire as if it were already yours, everything around you begins to move. The change is instant on the inside and inevitable on the outside. Your inner state is the blueprint from which your reality is constructed. Every event, every opportunity, every so-called coincidence is drawn to the vibrational tone of your consciousness. When you are aligned with fear, doubt, or delay, life mirrors those states back to you. But the moment you align with certainty, ease, and fulfillment, the world begins to reflect these back to you with stunning precision. Big changes do not require struggle, force, or intense action. They require one thing: inner alignment. This alignment is not wishful thinking. It is not pretending. It is a deep inner agreement, a knowing that what you desire is not in the future, but already present in the unseen. When you align with your desired outcome, you no longer chase it. You embody it. You think from it, speak from it, and feel from it. This internal embodiment is the signal that commands the outer world to shift. Your inner state becomes the cause, and reality becomes the effect. Most people wait for external proof before they allow themselves to feel the emotions of success, abundance, or love. But the outer proof can only come after the inner feeling is established. You cannot receive the harvest before planting the seed. The inner state is that seed, a living, creative force that grows into the form you expect. When you habitually return to the feeling of your desired outcome, moment by moment, you are watering that seed with attention, belief, and emotional energy. growth becomes unavoidable. The speed of change is determined by the consistency of your alignment. The more you return to the inner state of fulfillment, the faster the outer world rearranges. When you stop contradicting your desire with fear, when you stop checking for evidence, when you stop doubting whether it will happen, the change accelerates. Life does not need time, it needs cooperation. The moment you stop resisting and start assuming the reality of your desire, movement begins. This is why big changes often seem sudden. People say it happened out of nowhere, but nothing comes from nowhere, it comes from within. The shift happened quietly inside long before it became visible outside. When you align your inner state with your desired outcome, you ignite momentum. You create an energetic agreement between your inner world and the world around you. And once the two match, reality crystallizes. Your imagination is the engine of manifestation. Dwell in the end to attract the end. Everything begins as an unseen pattern within you long before it appears as a tangible experience. The world you move through today is simply the shadow of yesterday's imaginal activity, the residue of what you once accepted, assumed, and replayed internally. If you want new outcomes, you must first create new inner realities. Imagination is not daydreaming or fantasy. It is the creative force that shapes the structure of your life. Every image you hold with feeling becomes a seed, and the moment you dwell on it persistently, you breathe life into it. Over time, that seed unfolds into form, often in ways that seem mysterious or miraculous. And when you dwell in the end, you step into the feeling of already having the thing you desire. You no longer wait for proof or evidence because you carry the evidence within your inner state. Acting, thinking, and feeling from the end is like tuning a frequency. The moment you hold that inner frequency consistently, everything in your world begins to rearrange itself to match it. Your imagination becomes a magnet, pulling people, events, circumstances, and opportunities toward you that align with what you have accepted as your truth. Most people imagine the things they fear without realizing it. They replay worst-case scenarios, rehearse limitations, and assume disappointment. They dwell on the wrong end and then are surprised when life mirrors it back to them. But once you understand the power of imagination, you take back the steering wheel of your inner world. You begin to direct your thoughts intentionally rather than allowing them to drift unconsciously. You learn to sit quietly, close your eyes, and feel yourself already in possession of what you desire. You construct the scene, make it vivid, infuse it with emotion, and return to it again and again until it feels natural, until it feels inevitable. Dwell in the end not as a method of force, but as a state of being. The more natural your desired state becomes within you, the faster external reality bends to match it. Even when nothing seems to be happening on the surface, profound rearrangements are occurring behind the scenes. The invisible process always precedes the visible result. Your only task is to persist in the inner experience, regardless of what the outer world temporarily shows. You do not measure progress by what you see, but by how stable and certain you feel within. Your imagination is the bridge between your present and your future. If you want a new chapter, you must first write it in consciousness. Life responds to the inner script you rehearse daily. When you dwell in the end, you bypass doubt, delay, and resistance. You shift into the identity of the version of you who already has the outcome. And as you maintain that identity, life cannot help but obey. Imagination is the creative power, and dwelling in the end is the way you activate it. When the inner picture is secure, the outer picture must follow. You are constantly creating, whether you recognize it or not, because creation is not an occasional act. It is the ongoing activity of your awareness. Every thought entertained, every feeling accepted, every mental picture allowed to linger becomes a seed that eventually takes form in your outer world. Most people move through life unconsciously, repeating the same inner dialogues, rehearsing the same fears, replaying the same disappointments, and then wondering why life continues to mirror back the same patterns. But creation does not pause simply because you are not paying attention. Your inner story is always speaking, always shaping, always attracting its own reflection. The moment you understand this, you step into a different level of power. Instead of being a passive observer of your circumstances, you become an active author of them. You begin to notice the conversations happening in your mind throughout the day, the quiet assumptions you make about who you are, what you deserve, what is possible for you, and how the world responds to you. These assumptions may seem small or insignificant, but they generate the blueprint of your experiences. Change the blueprint, and the structure must follow. Choosing your inner story wisely does not mean ignoring what is in front of you. It means refusing to give your current circumstances the authority to define your future. It means recognizing that your imagination is always one step ahead of your life, always creating the pattern into which experiences will eventually crystallize. When you allow old stories of limitation, fear, or inadequacy to dominate your inner world, you are simply planting seeds for more of the same. But when you deliberately foster a story that reflects your highest vision, a story of confidence, abundance, love, purpose, and possibility, you align yourself with a new reality that must eventually reveal itself. This is not forced positivity or denial, it is conscious authorship. It is recognizing that the reality you experience is the shadow of your inner convictions. Shadows do not choose their shape. They simply follow the form that casts them. Likewise, your outer world cannot help but follow the tone of your inner world. If you want the shadow to change, you do not chase the shadow, you change the form. The power to shift your life begins with the simple awareness of what you are imagining, what you are assuming, and what you are accepting as truth in the quiet moments when no one else is listening. Those are the moments where creation truly takes place. Those are the moments when you choose whether to repeat the past or step into a new possibility. When you decide to become intentional with your inner story, life begins to respond differently. Opportunities appear, relationships shift, circumstances rearrange, and what once seemed impossible becomes normal. Because the outer world is not random, it is responsive. And when you choose your inner story wisely, you choose the future you will eventually walk into. Preparing to receive means preparing your consciousness first. Readiness is a state of mind, not circumstance. It is never the external world that determines whether something can enter your life. It is always the inner atmosphere you hold. Many people wait for the perfect timing, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect sign before they open themselves to what they desire. But life does not work that way. Opportunities arrive after the mind has become a welcoming place for them. Manifestation is not about forcing results, but about becoming the version of yourself that naturally attracts those results. Readiness is not measured by what you have, but by what you are willing to believe. To prepare your consciousness means to strip away the resistance that contradicts your desire. You cannot simultaneously long for something and label it impossible. You cannot ask for change while rehearsing the same stories of limitation. True preparation begins when you loosen your grip on your old identity, the one built on fear, doubt, and past failures, and step into the inner feeling of someone who already possesses what they once hoped for. This is the shift that opens doors. It is not the world that changes first, but your state of being. Readiness is also a matter of acceptance. To receive, you must be willing to accept the good you claim to want. Many people unknowingly block their blessings because they believe they are undeserving or unqualified. They hold desires in one hand but self-criticism in the other. Preparing your consciousness means resolving this contradiction. It means giving yourself permission to succeed, to be chosen, to be loved, to be prosperous. When you accept that you are worthy of receiving, life begins arranging itself to reflect that acceptance. This inner readiness is cultivated through imagination, self-direct, and persistent inner alignment. You train your mind to dwell on possibility rather than doubt. You teach yourself to feel the energy of fulfillment instead of lack. You stop waiting for life to give you proof, and you become the proof. The moment you adopt the inner tone of someone who is ready, calm, expectant, confident, open, you begin moving into a completely different timeline. Circumstances often appear slow or uncooperative, but consciousness is always the real mover. When your inner state shifts, what once seemed far away can rush toward you with startling speed. Life mirrors inner readiness, not outer effort. A prepared mind sees what it couldn't see before. It recognizes opportunities it once overlooked. It attracts assistance it previously thought was impossible. Readiness reorganizes your world. To preparing to receive is therefore not a passive waiting. It is an active becoming. You are shaping your inner landscape so that your desires have a home. You are clearing mental space, releasing old narratives, and choosing a new inner identity that matches the outcome you want. Readiness is a vibration, a consciousness, a quiet certainty that what you desire is already yours in essence. When your mind is ready, everything else follows. The journey we've taken through this message brings us back to one undeniable truth. Everything begins within you. The changes you seek, the breakthroughs you long for, the abundance you feel approaching, all of it is already alive in consciousness, waiting for your permission to appear. When you shift the story you accept, the world shifts with it. When you inhabit the end must express itself. When you choose to become the one who already has, life reorganizes itself to mirror that identity. Big changes are not coming from outside forces, but from the inner transformation you have courageously embraced. The speed of your manifestation is the speed of your inner alignment, and the moment you decide that you are ready, truly ready, your reality responds with precision, clarity, and undeniable movement. So, walk forward with confidence. Walk forward as the one who already embodies the outcome. Walk forward knowing that life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. The power is yours. The creation is yours. And the next chapter is already unfolding because your consciousness has made room for it. Thank you for receiving this message with an open mind and an awakened spirit. Your willingness to transform within is the greatest gift you can give to your future. Beloved, there comes a moment in every life when heaven whispers, now. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. The atmosphere around you has shifted. The currents of divine movement are no longer waiting for your permission, they are flowing in your direction. What you once prayed for in tears is being arranged in your favor with precision. The move of God has begun. You may not see it yet with your natural eyes, but deep within something is stirring. The invisible hand of grace is positioning people, places, and circumstances to honor the faith you've held in silence. Every closed door was not rejection, it was redirection. Every season of stillness was the womb of your new beginning. God is not coming. He has already moved. The evidence of his movement begins in your awareness. When you accept within yourself that everything is working for your good, you join the current of divine favor. What was once an obstacle becomes a bridge. What was once loss transforms into lesson. The law of the Spirit is simple. What you accept as true within must appear without. So receive this now, not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a settled reality. You are favored. You are chosen. You are the vessel through which God's movement expresses itself. Every limitation that once defined you is dissolving. The unseen power of divine intention is rewriting your story. The move of God is not something happening to you. It is something unfolding through you. Pause for a moment and feel it. The stillness in your spirit is confirmation that heaven has already answered. The joy that rises within you is not imagination, it is evidence. When your inner world aligns with divine truth, the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. You are stepping into divine timing. You are entering the flow where effort ends and alignment begins. The delay was only the gathering of strength. The silence was the preparation for your sound. The darkness was the canvas for the light now bursting forth in you. So lift your head. Expect good news. Walk as one who already possesses the promise. Speak as one whose words are charged with divine authority. For when you declare that everything is working in your favor, you are not making a request. You are revealing what heaven has already decreed. This is your confirmation. The move of God has begun. Not tomorrow, not next year, but now. Receive it in faith. Receive it in gratitude. Receive it in stillness. Everything you have walked through was leading you to this moment. A moment of divine favor, divine order, divine manifestation. The universe has heard your faith. Heaven has answered your cry. Receive it now. The divine shift has already begun. Whether you sense it or not, something sacred and unseen is working quietly on your behalf. The invisible hand of God is rearranging the pieces of your life, aligning every detail, every encounter, every circumstance in perfect harmony with your destiny. What once looked like chaos was never disorder. It was divine choreography. You may have felt delays, detours, and disappointments, but all of them were a part of the greater movement of heaven that has now entered a season of manifestation. There are moments when it seems as though nothing is happening, when your prayers echo in silence and your faith feels like it's standing still. Yet even then, God is working behind the curtain of your awareness. The shift is never loud. It begins in the quiet spaces of your soul, in the unseen realm where faith gives birth to reality. You may not notice the transformation at first because the move of God often starts small, like the first light of dawn that slowly overtakes the darkness. This divine shift is not about striving or chasing, it's about alignment. It's about coming into harmony with the truth that you are already within the flow of God's favor. The unseen hand does not struggle to bless you, it simply arranges the path so that what is meant for you finds its way with ease. The opportunities that seem lost, the relationships that seemed broken, the seasons that seemed wasted, all are being rewoven into something meaningful. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. Think of how seeds grow beneath the soil. For a time, there is no evidence of life above the surface. Yet everything essential is happening below. Roots are forming, strength is being built, and potential is awakening. That's how divine movement works. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it is not real. In truth, the unseen is often more powerful than the visible. The shift begins internally, through belief, through acceptance, through quiet confidence that all things are working together for your good. You are not waiting for God to begin. He has already begun. The moment you believed, the moment you chose to trust even when you didn't understand, something shifted. Every thought of faith, every word spoken in gratitude, every moment of surrender added momentum to the unseen current moving in your favor. The hand of God is not idle, it is active, adjusting timelines, aligning hearts, opening doors you cannot yet see. Soon what has been working in secret will become visible. The conversations you need, the connections you've prayed for, the opportunities designed just for you, they will unfold naturally because they have been divinely arranged. Your only task is to remain still in trust, to live as if the miracle has already happened. When you rest in this knowing, peace becomes your confirmation. The divine shift is not coming. It is here, and it is moving every detail of your life toward the fulfillment of divine purpose. Everything that appears in your life is first conceived within. The outer world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the images, emotions, and beliefs you nurture in the hidden chambers of your mind. The inner vision creates the outer reality. What you accept as true in faith must one day take form. Your circumstances are not random, they are the visible expression of your invisible convictions. The moment you see clearly within, your world begins to reorganize itself to match that inner sight. The divine process of creation always begins in the unseen. Every dream, every answered prayer, every breakthrough is first born in imagination, through the quiet conviction that what you desire already exists in spirit. Faith is not merely hoping for something, it is perceiving it inwardly until it becomes undeniable. When your inner awareness accepts a truth so completely that it feels real, creation begins its sacred work of reflection. The world outside bends to the pattern you hold within. If you look around and see limitation, you are only witnessing the residue of old beliefs. You are never stuck. You are simply observing yesterday's vision. But when you dare to shift the image within, to see abundance instead of lack, healing instead of pain, victory instead of defeat, you set in motion a new cycle of manifestation. The universe cannot resist the pull of a focused mind. The unseen power that governs all things responds to the vibration of certainty. Your inner acceptance is the birthplace of divine manifestation. This means that nothing new can emerge in your life until it has first been welcomed in your imagination. To receive something spiritually is to claim it inwardly before evidence appears. It is to live from the end, to think, feel, and act as though what you desire is already accomplished. This inner alignment invites the outer world to conform. The moment you stop doubting and start dwelling in the feeling of the answered prayer, you shift realities. The greatest secret of faith is emotional agreement. When your emotions and thoughts unite in harmony, creation is inevitable. That's why doubt delays and fear distorts. They divide your energy. But when you hold a single, unwavering image of good, when you feel gratitude before the blessing arrives, you open the door for divine power to flow without resistance. The invisible becomes visible because you have made it real within yourself. Understand this deeply. You are not waiting on circumstances to change. Circumstances are waiting on you to see differently. The kingdom of God is within you. It is the realm of perfect creation where every possibility already exists. Your task is not to force or struggle, but to envision, to believe, and to emotionally dwell in the outcome you desire. Soon the world around you will echo the song of your inner vision. People will call it coincidence, but you will know it was faith shaping reality. The outer world is nothing more than the canvas, and your imagination is the brush, guided by divine power. What you hold in faith within must appear without, for God always fulfills the image conceived in the heart that dares to believe. You are standing in a season of favor. This is not just another moment in time, it is a divine intersection where everything that once seemed delayed or denied is being transformed into evidence of God's perfect timing. The struggles, the waiting, the unanswered prayers, they were not punishments but preparations. Every disappointment was shaping your character, refining your faith, and aligning you for what could not come before its appointed hour. What felt like stagnation was divine strategy. Heaven was preparing you for release. Favor does not always announce itself with noise. It often comes quietly after a long silence. You may have endured seasons where doors refused to open, where your efforts seemed fruitless, and where the promises of God felt distant. Yet in those moments, something sacred was happening within you. You were being strengthened to carry what is now being released. God does not withhold to punish. He withholds to protect and prepare. If it had come earlier, you might not have had the capacity to sustain it. But now you are ready. The season you are stepping into carries grace that is no longer delayed. What was once resisted will now flow freely. What was once hidden will now be revealed. This is the moment where all things begin to make sense. The pain, the pauses, the pruning, the lessons learned in your wilderness were not wasted. They are the foundation of your wisdom. Every tear watered the soil of your breakthrough. Every setback cleared the path for your elevation. You were never losing time. Time was working for you. This is the nature of divine favor. It arrives when your heart and heaven come into alignment. The season of favor is not determined by external conditions, but by internal readiness. When your faith matures into trust, you no longer chase blessings. Blessings begin to chase you. You become magnetized to opportunity because your spirit now vibrates at the frequency of divine order. Look around you with new eyes. The very situations that once brought you pain are now revealing purpose. The people who walked away created space for those who are meant to walk in. The dreams that seemed to die are being resurrected with greater clarity and power. Nothing was lost. Everything was being rearranged for this divine unveiling. You are no longer waiting for your time. Your time has found you. Step boldly into this season. Expect doors to open with ease. Expect favor to follow your obedience. Expect restoration that exceeds your imagination. The weight you carried has turned into wings. The divine delay has ended, and the release has begun. You are standing in the manifestation of everything your faith has endured for. This is not coincidence, this is covenant. You have entered a divine season where grace works faster than effort, and where everything, without exception, begins to work in your favor. Faith is the bridge between promise and manifestation. It is the invisible path that connects what has been spoken by God to what will soon be seen in your life. Every promise exists already in spirit, waiting for your faith to bring it into form. Faith is not hoping that something might happen. It is the quiet inner conviction that it already has. It is the unwavering awareness that the word spoken over your life cannot return void. The moment you truly believe, the unseen world begins to respond, rearranging circumstances, people, and opportunities to fulfill your expectation. The universe is not random, it is responsive. It bends to the vibration of belief. The entire structure of reality is designed to reflect consciousness, and faith is the language that communicates with the divine order of creation. When you believe, you set in motion a process that cannot be seen with natural eyes, but is deeply felt in spirit. It is as though heaven and earth begin to collaborate to make what you hold within a living reality without. Every promise requires a bridge, and that bridge is built one thought at a time. Doubt tears down what faith constructs, but every moment you choose trust over fear, you lay another plank across the unseen divide. Faith transforms waiting into certainty, and uncertainty into peace. It allows you to rest before the miracle appears, because it knows that the outcome is inevitable. Belief is not passive, it is creative. It is the spiritual act of agreeing with divine truth until it becomes substance. When you hold an inner vision with unwavering faith, the outer world has no choice but to conform. Circumstances may resist for a time, but resistance only tests the strength of your conviction. Faith never looks to appearances for validation. It looks inward, where the promise is already alive. The moment you believe, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. People are moved into position. Conversations unfold at just the right time. Doors open where there were none before. You cannot see all the details, but the orchestration is perfect. What once seemed like coincidence is actually divine synchronization, responding to your inner state. The universe is listening to the song of your faith, and it echoes that melody back to you in form. Faith bridges the gap between what you have heard and what you will hold. It is not built in comfort, it is forged in uncertainty. When everything around you says impossible, faith whispers, already done. It stands firm when logic fails, and it rejoices before evidence appears. So stand on the bridge with confidence. Let your heart rest in assurance that what was promised is already on its way. The same power that formed galaxies is working in your favor. The moment you believe, the universe reorganizes itself, and every element of creation begins to cooperate with your destiny. Faith does not wait for proof, it creates it. To receive before you see is the essence of true faith. It is the posture of a soul that no longer waits for visible evidence to believe in what God has already promised. Receiving from God is not an act of begging or striving, it is a state of being, a quiet inner knowing that what you have asked for is already accomplished in the unseen. To receive is to shift your awareness, to live mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in the reality of what is already yours, even before it takes shape in the physical world. Everything in creation begins in the invisible. The spiritual realm is the source, and the material world is the reflection. When you pray, you are not asking God to create something new, you are aligning yourself with what He has already prepared. The moment you ask in faith, it exists, but it exists first in spirit. Your role is not to wait anxiously for it to appear, but to dwell in the feeling of already having it. That feeling is the magnetic force that draws it into manifestation. To receive before you see is to act as if the promise has already been fulfilled. It means giving thanks before the answer arrives, celebrating before the victory is visible, and walking with confidence even when nothing seems to have changed. This is not self-deception, it is divine alignment. You are choosing to identify with the truth of what God has spoken, rather than the illusion of what your senses temporarily perceive. The physical world lags behind spiritual reality, but it must eventually catch up to what you consistently hold within. Your emotions are the signal you send to creation. When you feel joy, gratitude, and certainty as though the manifestation were already complete, you communicate faith to the universe. That faith becomes the bridge that allows the unseen to flow into the seen. The opposite is also true. When you dwell in fear, lack, or doubt, you delay what is already yours, because your emotional state contradicts the truth of abundance. To receive before you see is to let your inner world lead and your outer world follow. This is why gratitude is such a powerful force. Gratitude assumes possession. It says, "It is already mine." When you give thanks for what you cannot yet touch, you proclaim that you have received it in spirit, and the outer world is compelled to reflect that truth. Faith does not ask, "When will it happen?" Faith declares, "It has happened, and I rejoice." Everything you desire already exists in a higher dimension, waiting for your recognition. The moment you accept it inwardly, the process of manifestation begins outwardly. You do not need to chase or convince, you only need to align and allow. When your mind and heart live in the reality of the fulfilled promise, you have already received. And soon, what you once believed in silence will appear before your eyes, not because it was newly created, but because you finally chose to see what had always been yours. You are the evidence of the move of God. You do not have to look to the sky for signs or wait for something dramatic to prove that heaven is working on your behalf. The proof is already within you. The change in your heart, the renewal of your mind, the quiet strength that now sustains you where fear once ruled. Transformation is not just a sign of divine activity, it is the move of God made visible through you. Every shift in your thinking, every release of bitterness, every rise in faith is heaven at work in human form. There was a time when you doubted, when you questioned if your prayers were heard, if your waiting had meaning. But look at you now, standing stronger, seeing clearer, loving deeper. That is not coincidence, that is evidence. The presence of peace in situations that once shook you, the confidence that replaces anxiety, the light that has returned to your eyes, all of it is the mark of divine movement. God's greatest miracles are often internal before they are external. Before He changes your surroundings, He transforms your perception. You are no longer the same person you were in your previous season. What used to break you now builds you. What used to scare you now strengthens you. This is what happens when heaven moves through a human life. It doesn't just alter circumstances, it awakens identity. The move of God begins as awareness. It is the realization that you are not separate from divine power, but an expression of it. The evidence is the expansion of your consciousness, the birth of compassion, the awakening of purpose. The world often looks for miracles in signs and wonders. But the greatest miracle is a changed heart. When love replaces anger, when peace conquers fear, when faith silences doubt, heaven has already touched earth. You are walking proof that divine grace is real. Every act of forgiveness, every moment of courage, every prayer whispered in trust becomes testimony that God is not distant. He is moving through you, shaping you from the inside out. Even when the outer world seems unchanged, the transformation within is announcing a new reality. You are becoming aligned with heaven's rhythm, and that inner harmony will soon manifest outwardly. The peace you now feel will attract peace around you. The clarity you now possess will order your steps. The strength you carry will manifest as success, restoration, and new beginnings. The outer expression always follows the inner transformation. So do not minimize what God is doing in you because it does not yet look spectacular to others. The quiet work of grace is the most powerful of all. You are becoming the living message that God is active, that redemption is possible, that light always wins. The shift within your spirit is the sound of heaven moving in your life. You are the evidence of divine reality unfolding, living proof that the move of God has already begun and that His favor is resting upon you now. Beloved, as we bring this message to a close, remember this truth. The move of God has already begun. You are not waiting for your season has found you. Every delay was preparation, every battle was training, and every prayer was planting a seed that is now bearing fruit. The unseen hand of God has been guiding every step, turning what once seemed like detours into divine direction. You are now walking in a flow where everything is aligning in your favor. The shift within you has unlocked the blessings around you. Faith has built the bridge. Your inner vision has shaped your reality, and your willingness to receive before you see has opened the door to manifestation. You are living proof that heaven is active, that miracles are real, and that divine timing is never late. So stand boldly in this moment. Let gratitude rise in your heart. Speak life over your destiny, and walk with assurance that everything is working for your good. The evidence of God's move is not somewhere far away. It is within you, breathing, transforming, expanding. Thank you for joining in this message of faith and awakening. May you continue to walk in divine favor, see through the eyes of spirit, and live each day knowing that the move of God is alive in you, now and always. The shift has already begun. You may not see it yet, but the invisible is moving. Forces you cannot measure, hands you cannot see, and currents you cannot control are rearranging themselves in perfect harmony with what you have believed. The divine order is unfolding quietly, yet powerfully, behind the scenes of your life. Everything that once seemed delayed, denied, or dismissed was not rejection. It was realignment. The universe has never said no to your faith. It has only said wait until it fits. The divine is too precise to waste motion, too intentional to miss timing. What looked like silence was synchronization. This moment, this now, is the beginning of alignment. You are stepping into a vibration that matches your answered prayer. The outer world is finally catching up to your inner conviction. The doors that once resisted you are now recognizing your authority. The very atmosphere around you is changing because you have changed within. The divine shift begins the moment you believe differently. No thunder, no announcement, no spectacle, just a quiet certainty that whispers, "It is done." That whisper carries more power than any storm. Because when you know it within, reality must obey. The law of creation is simple. Your inner assumption determines your outer expression. Look closely. Things are starting to align in ways you could never have orchestrated. Inward. Story. The right people are being drawn into your orbit. The opportunities that once seemed random are now revealing divine pattern. What you once called coincidence is divine precision wearing disguise. Every encounter, every turn, every delay, it all fits the grand design. You are not waiting for the shift, you are living in it. Every day that you persist in faith, you strengthen the frequency of fulfillment. You are no longer trying to make things happen. You are allowing them to appear from the invisible blueprint already finished within you. Your only work now is to remain still in knowing, not anxious, not doubtful, just knowing. Because the divine doesn't respond to panic, it responds to peace. The still heart is the creative heart. The calm mind is the magnetic mind. So, breathe. The shift is not coming, it has begun. Everything is aligning in your favor, not by force, but by flow. Not by striving, but by surrender. The old pattern has dissolved, the new order is taking form. Stay in the feeling of fulfillment. Speak only from completion. Walk as though the prayer has already been answered, because in truth it has. The divine shift is now. Everything, and I mean everything, is aligning in your favor. Before anything takes shape in the physical, it must first be born in the unseen. Every visible manifestation begins as an invisible vibration, an image, a feeling, a conviction that exists only within. The unseen realm is not distant or abstract. It is the creative workshop of reality, the place where every outcome is conceived long before the world can behold it. You may think that what you see is all there is, but what you see is only the echo of what has already been formed in spirit. The invisible moves first, and the visible follows its lead. The thoughts you entertain, the emotions you dwell in, and the visions you consistently hold within your imagination are not idle. They are blueprints. They are patterns of energy shaping themselves into form. When you imagine with intention, you are not escaping reality, you are constructing it. The moment you feel something as real within, The unseen realm begins to rearrange itself to match that feeling. This is why your inner world matters far more than your outer conditions. The outer is simply a mirror, a faithful servant to the state of consciousness you occupy within. Think of it like a seed planted in the soil. You cannot see its growth beneath the ground, but it is alive, expanding, preparing to break through the surface. If you were to dig it up to check its progress, you would interrupt the process. The same is true with your desires. When you plant an intention in your imagination and nurture it with faith, something invisible begins to move, something more intelligent than logic and more powerful than effort. The unseen realm knows the way. It begins to orchestrate circumstances, attract people, and align opportunities in ways your rational mind could never predict. The patient tonight, patient, you don't need to understand how it happens, you only need to sustain the inner picture and the corresponding feeling. Doubt interrupts creation, faith accelerates it. Every time you return to the feeling of fulfillment, you are watering your seed in the unseen. Every time you rehearse limitation or fear, you delay its unfolding. What you continually imagine becomes the command you give to the creative substance of the universe. So, if you want to change the outer, you must first honor the inner. Stop trying to manipulate the external world by force. Instead, return to the quiet sanctuary of imagination. Close your eyes and see yourself as already having what you seek. Feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude of its completion. Stay there until it feels natural. In that invisible moment, creation begins. You have set the unseen in motion, and it will not rest until it becomes visible. The unseen realm is the first cause of all things. It is not delayed, it is deliberate. Everything you will ever touch, hold, or experience begins as a feeling within, and when that feeling becomes your inner reality, it must soon become your outer one. And now everything begins within you. Your inner state, your mood, belief, and feeling is the creative force behind all that unfolds in your life. The outer world is not the cause of your emotions or experiences. It is the reflection of them. The mistake most people make is thinking that life happens to them, when in truth it happens through them. You are not a passive observer of circumstances. You are their origin. Reality bends itself to the vibration you consistently sustain in consciousness, not to the conditions you react to on the surface. The moment you understand this, you stop chasing change in the outer world and begin transforming the world within. Everything you see is a mirror showing you the state of consciousness you dwell in most often. If you carry fear, life will reflect reasons to fear. If you hold peace, the world will mirror peace back to you. When you walk in assurance, opportunities seem to open effortlessly because the vibration of confidence calls forth experiences that match it. You are always creating, whether consciously or unconsciously, because consciousness is creative by its very nature. Many spend their lives reacting to what they see, trying to fix external situations without realizing that they are merely rearranging the mirror rather than changing the face it reflects. If you desire different results, you must assume a different state of being. When you shift your inner tone, the outer picture must eventually conform to that frequency. The law is immutable, as within, so without. So, this means that your focus should never be on the problem itself, but on the state of consciousness that transcends the problem. You do not fight darkness, you turn on the light. Likewise, You do not struggle against unwanted circumstances. You rise into the awareness of a higher truth. When you embody the feeling of being whole, abundant, or loved, the outer world has no choice but to reshape itself accordingly. You are not bound by appearances unless you give them power through your attention. The vibration you sustain is your command to the universe. It is not your words that hold the greatest creative authority. It is the feeling behind them. When you speak from lack, even with positive words, you affirm the very state of absence. But when you speak from fulfillment, every word carries creative energy that magnetizes its own confirmation. The universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you feel you already are. So guard your inner state with sacred awareness. Do not let conditions dictate your consciousness. Let your consciousness dictate your conditions. Choose the state you wish to live from and dwell there until it becomes natural. When peace becomes your home, life cannot bring you chaos. When abundance becomes your identity, life cannot mirror scarcity. The cause is always within. The world merely echoes the vibration you sustain in the silence of your being. Every delay in your life carries divine intelligence within it. What you perceive as waiting is not wasted time. It is divine synchronization unfolding with perfect precision. The universe is never late, never early, and never uncertain. It operates according to a rhythm higher than human understanding, a rhythm of divine order. While your human self may crave immediacy, the divine self knows that true alignment requires orchestration, not urgency. What seems delayed to you is actually being arranged for you. You see only a fragment of the picture, but the universe sees the entire tapestry. It knows the perfect moment for everything to meet, the right sequence for every event, and the ideal alignment for every manifestation. The delay is not denial, it is divine choreography. Each piece must move into place before the masterpiece can reveal itself. When you force timing, you interrupt divine flow. But when you trust timing, you become one with it. Impatience is the illusion that life is off schedule. It's the voice of fear that says, if it hasn't happened yet, it might never happen. But divine timing whispers, it's already done. It's just aligning. What looks like nothing happening is often the universe moving everything. People are being prepared, circumstances are being adjusted, and you are being refined to hold what you have asked for. The waiting period is not punishment, it's preparation. You are being molded into the version of yourself capable of sustaining what you desire. Think of it as the pause between seed and harvest. You don't plant a seed and demand fruit the next morning. You understand that unseen processes are at work. Roots growing, soil nourishing, light guiding. So it is with your dreams. The divine must first arrange invisible elements before visible manifestation can occur. When you understand this, waiting becomes worship. You stop worrying about when and start trusting that divine timing never fails. It aligns with perfection that no human hand can improve. The very delay you resent today will one day reveal itself as protection. The things that didn't happen when you wanted them to often turn out to be the greatest blessings in disguise. Because divine order is not about convenience, it's about completeness. It doesn't deliver partial answers or fragile victories. It delivers fulfillment that stands the test of time. So rest in the rhythm of divine synchronization. When it seems like nothing is happening, remind yourself that everything is happening. The pieces are moving, the threads are weaving, and the timing is aligning. You have not been forgotten, you have been scheduled. The divine is never in a hurry, but always on time. Trust the pauses, honor the process, and stay rooted in faith. The delay is not your detour, it's your divine alignment. Everything is moving exactly as it should. And when the moment is right, what you've been waiting for will arrive effortlessly. And you will see that the delay was the divine at work all along. Every delay in your life carries divine intelligence within it. What you perceive as waiting is not wasted time. It is divine synchronization unfolding with perfect precision. The universe is never late, never early, and never uncertain. It operates according to a rhythm higher than human understanding, a rhythm of divine order. While your human self may crave immediacy, the divine self knows that true alignment requires orchestration, not urgency. What seems delayed to you is actually being arranged for you. You see only a fragment of the picture, but the universe sees the entire tapestry. It knows the perfect moment for everything to meet, the right sequence for every event, and the ideal alignment for every manifestation. The delay is not denial, it is divine choreography. Each piece must move into place before the masterpiece can reveal itself. When you force timing, you interrupt divine flow. But when you trust timing, you become one with it. Impatience is the illusion that life is off schedule. It's the voice of fear that says if it hasn't happened yet, it might never happen. But divine timing whispers, it's already done, it's just aligning. What looks like nothing happening is often the universe moving everything. People are being prepared, circumstances are being adjusted, and you are being refined to hold what you have asked for. The waiting period is not punishment, it's preparation. You are being molded into the version of yourself capable of sustaining what you desire. Think of it as the pause between seed and harvest. You don't plant a seed and demand fruit the next morning. You understand that unseen processes are at work, roots growing, soil nourishing, light guiding. So it is with your dreams. The divine must first arrange invisible elements before visible manifestation can occur. When you understand this, waiting becomes worship. You stop worrying about when and start trusting that divine timing never fails. It aligns with perfection that no human hand can improve. The very delay you resent today will one day reveal itself as protection. The things that didn't happen when you wanted them to often turn out to be the greatest blessings in disguise. Because divine order is not about convenience, it's about completeness. It doesn't deliver partial answers or fragile victories, it delivers fulfillment that stands the test of time. So rest in the rhythm of divine synchronization. When it seems like nothing is happening, remind yourself that everything is happening. The pieces are moving, the threads are weaving, and the timing is aligning. You have not been forgotten, you have been scheduled. The divine is never in a hurry, but always on time. Trust the pauses, honor the process, and stay rooted in faith. The delay is not your detour, it's your divine alignment. Everything is moving exactly as it should, and when the moment is right, what you've been waiting for will arrive effortlessly, and you will see that the delay was the divine at work all along. The secret of transformation lies not in striving, but in assuming fulfillment. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into the vibration of completion. The universe responds not to effort, but to embodiment. The moment you inwardly accept that what you desire is already yours, something begins to move. A divine shift awakens, unseen but unstoppable. Consciousness always creates completion before action ever confirms it. What you feel as real within becomes the seed of the world you will soon experience. Most people live from the place of struggle. They see lack, they feel absence, and they react to it by trying harder. But this constant struggle only affirms separation from what they seek. The universe mirrors their striving by keeping fulfillment at a distance. When you struggle to become, you declare you are not yet. But when you assume you already are, life must rearrange itself to match that truth. The inner acceptance is the beginning of manifestation. It's not pretending, it's positioning. To assume fulfillment is to think, feel, and live from the end. It's to walk as though the promise is already kept. It's to let gratitude replace yearning, to let calm replace chaos, and to let certainty replace doubt. You no longer look at the world for evidence of your desire. You rest in the invisible knowing that it is done. In that moment of surrender, creation begins. Because faith does not wait for proof, it creates the proof. Every fulfilled vision first lived as a feeling of completion in someone's heart. The artist sees the painting finished before the brush ever touches the canvas. The builder walks through the completed house in imagination long before the first brick is laid. The same principle governs all creation. The inner assumption precedes the outer confirmation. You cannot receive what you do not first believe yourself to already possess. When you assume fulfillment, your actions flow with ease. You are no longer acting to make something happen, you are acting from the awareness that it already has. This shift in consciousness dissolves struggle, because struggle only exists where there is separation between desire and possession. In fulfillment, there is no gap to bridge. You are no longer chasing the blessing, you are expressing it. So close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of completion. Feel the satisfaction of it being done. Let that emotion saturate your being until it feels natural. The world will follow your inner tone like a faithful servant. The conversations, opportunities, and synchronicities required to confirm your inner knowing will unfold without strain. This is the divine paradox. When you stop trying to make it happens. When you stop asking when, the answer appears now. The shift begins not when you do more, but when you believe deeper. So assume the fulfillment, not the struggle. Live as though it is already done, because in truth, it is. The outer world is not random, it is responsive. Everything around you is constantly rearranging itself to mirror the conviction you hold within. Your inner belief is not a passive thought. It is a magnetic command that organizes the external according to its vibration. The moment you declare something with unwavering faith, life begins to conspire in your favor. People you have never met are being moved into position. Events are shifting, opportunities are being orchestrated, and paths are opening. All to reflect the state you have assumed within yourself. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the center of divine coordination. The external world is your mirror, and your conviction is the artist shaping its reflection. Every strong belief becomes an unseen force of gravity, drawing toward you all that harmonizes with its frequency. When you hold an inner knowing that something is already yours, reality bends to make it so. You don't need to chase it. It must come, because your conviction has already claimed it in the invisible. This is why you must treat your inner declarations with reverence. Every time you speak from certainty, you set a new order in motion. The universe listens not to doubt, but to dominance, the tone of belief that does not waver. When you know something deeply, creation rushes to confirm it. The external begins its sacred rearrangement. You may not see it at first, but behind the curtain of time, everything is moving with divine precision to fulfill your inner word. This alignment is not forced, it is fluid. The people who can elevate your vision will appear at the perfect moment. The doors that seemed sealed will suddenly open without effort. The resources you need will find their way to you through unexpected channels. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The external world is responding to the conviction you dared to sustain when evidence was still absent. But this process demands faith over sight. Many give up too soon, doubting because the rearrangement is invisible at first. Yet even when nothing seems to change, the unseen gears are turning. The moment you hold fast to your conviction, reality begins to yield. The invisible hand of divine order starts connecting the threads of your destiny. What once appeared delayed will soon reveal itself as perfectly timed. To guard your conviction as sacred ground, do not let outer appearances shake what you know to be true within. Speak your declaration, feel its reality, and rest in assurance. The external has no choice but to conform. You are not waiting for alignment, it is already in progress. The universe is a faithful servant to the one who knows. Every detail, every encounter, every opportunity is finding its rightful place, drawn by the silent magnetism of your conviction. The outer must always bow to the inner, for it is the inner that commands and the external that obeys. Faith is not passive waiting, it is active knowing. It is the quiet, unwavering assurance that what you have believed is already finished in the unseen. Faith is not hoping something will happen one day, it is knowing that it has already happened in the invisible and therefore must appear in the visible. True faith doesn't beg, chase, or worry, it rests in divine certainty. When you stand still in that sacred assurance, all of creation moves to honor your inner conviction. Faith begins where sight ends. It sees beyond appearances and trusts the invisible pattern unfolding beneath them. While the natural mind demands proof, faith operates from completion. It looks at the invisible and declares, "It is done." This declaration is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are aligning yourself with divine order, affirming that the unseen is more real than the seen, and that divine timing cannot fail. When you enter this stillness of certainty, you are no longer striving for manifestation, you are magnetizing it. The universe responds to certainty like a servant to a master's call. The moment you stand firm in knowing, creation begins to rearrange itself to match your conviction. Doors that were closed begin to open. People begin to appear. Circumstances start to shift. Yet none of this comes through struggle. It comes through stability. Faith doesn't move mountains by pushing them. It moves them by standing so sure that they must yield to its presence. The power of faith lies not in effort, but in rest. Stillness is not inactivity, it is authority. When you are still in knowing, you are not frozen in fear, you are grounded in divine truth. You no longer chase outcomes because you understand that the outcome is already set in motion. You cease to worry about timing because you know divine order is precise. You stop questioning if it will happen and begin thanking that it already has. In this vibration of gratitude and certainty, creation aligns itself with speed and grace. Faith is not loud. It doesn't need to convince, defend, or prove itself. It simply is. It speaks silently through calm confidence, through peace that defies logic, through joy in the middle of uncertainty. The one who walks in faith walks with quiet authority, knowing that the entire universe bends toward the vibration of belief. You don't chase blessings when you know you are the vessel through which they flow. So stand still. Let your stillness declare your trust. Let your calm be your testimony. When everything in the outer world seems unsteady, remain anchored in the invisible reality that all is working in divine order. You are not waiting for life to respond. Life is waiting for your knowing. The moment you rest in that knowing, creation begins to move, swiftly, silently, powerfully, to honor your faith. Because faith is never about waiting for proof. It is the proof the divine shift is not coming. It has already begun. Everything you've walked through, every delay, every closed door, every unseen battle was part of the orchestration that brought you to this moment. The unseen realm has been moving on your behalf all along, arranging what your eyes could not yet see. Your inner state has shaped your world. Your faith has summoned alignment, and your conviction has called forth divine order. Now, the invisible is becoming visible. You are standing in a season where all things are being synchronized for your good. The external world is rearranging itself around your inner certainty. What once resisted you will now recognize you. The very ground beneath you is shifting to support what you believed in silence. Stay steady in knowing. Stay calm in conviction. The divine has not forgotten you. It has been preparing you. This is your time to rest in assurance and to walk as though it is already done. Because it is. The divine shift has begun, and everything, every person, every circumstance, every opportunity is aligning in your favor. Thank you for listening, and remember, your faith is the force that moves the unseen. Stay in the knowing and watch how the universe responds to your certainty. Everything you want already exists in the unseen. Your desire is not a request for something to come into existence. It is a revelation of what is already yours. The moment an idea is born within you, the fulfillment of that idea has been set into motion. You wouldn't feel the desire unless the version of you who already has it is calling you forward. You have been told that manifestation takes time, that success requires long struggles, that prayers remain unanswered for reasons unknown. But today you are rewriting the rules. You are reclaiming your divine authority. You are learning the fastest way to your desires. A method so powerful that in 3 days, everything can shift. 3 days is not a countdown. It is not a waiting period. 3 days is a state of assumption, held without contradiction. It is the unwavering inner knowing that what you have imagined has already happened. Day 1, you decide. You choose the end result. You stop asking if it will happen and begin living from the truth that it already has. You see the world from the eyes of the person who has succeeded. You walk differently, you speak differently, you feel differently. You claim your desire as reality, not fantasy. Day 2, you persist. Doubts may knock, old stories may rise, but you stay loyal to your chosen end. You do not argue with appearances. You do not negotiate with fear. You do not look to the outer world for confirmation. You remain in the inner world, the world that shapes truth. You feed the feeling of victory until it becomes effortless. Day 3. You rest, not a passive rest, but a victorious one. You allow the unseen power to do what you have already done internally. You walk through the day knowing the bridge of events is unfolding. You celebrate before the evidence. You trust that what you felt real is real, and the physical must follow. This 3-day process is not magic, it is law. You do not manifest by hoping. You manifest by assuming. Every desire requires only one thing: the feeling of having it now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. When you assume the state of the wish fulfilled and you hold it, the world must rearrange itself. Doors open. People show up, situations shift. What is yours rushes toward you because you have called it with conviction. You are not waiting on your desire is waiting on you. So decide the life you choose to experience. Imagine the end as though it is your present. Feel the satisfaction deeply. Persist for 3 days with absolute inner allegiance, and then watch how fast reality bends. The fastest way to your desires is to already be the version of you who has them. Speak the inner truth. It is already done. It is already mine. I am living it now. 3 days of unwavering assumption. That is all it takes. Your manifestation is not in the future, it is here and now. It is time for you to claim it. Your imagination is the workshop of destiny. What you accept as true becomes your reality. Every outcome you have ever experienced began first as a thought, a belief, an inner assumption. Long before the world around you rearranged itself, something within you shifted. Imagination is not something childish or trivial. It is the most powerful, creative force you possess. It is the silent architect behind the scenes of your life, constructing experiences that match the truth you hold within yourself. Every time you imagine something with feeling, you are giving life to a new possibility. You are allowing the invisible to take shape even before it becomes visible. The mistake is believing that imagination is separate from real life, when in truth, imagination is the origin of everything that becomes real. The chair you sit on, the phone you use, the home you live in, all were once ideas in someone's mind. They had no physical form until imagination gave them one. The same principle applies to your relationships, your finances, your health, and your future. When you accept an idea as true, whether it is empowering or limiting, you activate a law that ensures it must express itself. The mind does not judge what you give it. It does not filter between what you want and what you fear. It simply creates based on what you assume to be real. This is why your inner dialogue matters. This is why your private visions shape your public life. You have been imagining your life into existence without even realizing it. Every doubt you've repeated, every fear you've entertained, every limitation you've accepted, those were seeds you planted, and life, being fertile soil, allowed them to grow. But just as easily, you can plant new seeds. You can imagine success instead of struggle, love instead of loneliness, abundance instead of lack. The moment you accept these new ideas as your truth, everything begins to shift. Imagination does not wait for permission. It does not check the current circumstances to see if change is possible. It knows it is the source of change. When you deliberately choose the images you dwell on, you take the steering wheel of your destiny. You overrule appearances and replace them with intention. You stop being a victim of life and become the creator of life. The secret is to imagine and feel the end result as though it is happening right now. When imagination and emotion join together, they produce a force so strong the universe has no choice but to respond. Your reality rearranges itself to match the new truth you hold within. People, opportunities, and events you could never have predicted begin to appear. Things that once seemed impossible suddenly become inevitable. The world will always mirror the assumptions you persist in. If you want to change the reflection, you must first change what you are imagining. Believe in the unseen. Trust the power that breathes life into your dreams. Your imagination is the workshop of destiny, and you are the master builder. The desire fulfilled begins with a decision. Assume the end and live from it, not toward it. The moment you choose the outcome in your mind, the moment you say, "This is already mine," everything in your reality begins shifting to align with that assumption. You do not wait for signs, evidence, or permission from the outside world. You give yourself permission through your decision. You claim the end as your truth before the world has the chance to show it to you. Those people live toward their desires. They imagine themselves on the way, still lacking, still hoping, still waiting. They place their dreams in the distance, treating them as goals they must earn through struggle and time. But what they don't realize is that by living toward the desire, they reinforce the belief that they don't have it yet. And as long as the belief of not yet remains dominant, the desire remains distant. True manifestation flips this logic completely. You live from the end, as though you already are the one who has the success, the love, the abundance. You shift your identity first. You occupy the state of the fulfilled desire so fully that there is no room for doubt. You make the decision so deeply that the external world must follow. This decision is not about forcing or pretending. It is a quiet certainty, an inner knowing. You adopt the perspective and feelings of the version of you who already possesses what you want. If you desire wealth, you don't walk as someone striving for abundance. You walk as someone who is financially secure. If you desire love, you don't think like someone waiting to be chosen. You think like someone already adored. If you desire healing, you don't identify with illness. You identify with wholeness. Life responds to identity. The universe reflects back who you believe yourself to be. When you assume the end, you are changing your self-concept. You are saying, "This is who I am now," and the world must reorganize to mirror that version of you. This is why the decision is everything. In that single moment of inner commitment, not hesitation, not half belief, you set manifestation into motion. The decision itself is the beginning of fulfillment. You do not chase outcomes, you attract them through alignment. You no longer need to check, worry, or doubt because your assumption has already secured the result. Living from the end is the ultimate expression of faith. When you decide the outcome and hold that state with persistence, you are declaring that your inner reality is more powerful than appearances. And soon, appearances shift to match your declaration. Every desire you hold is waiting for one thing, for you to decide that the end is already achieved. Once that decision is made, every step, every coincidence, every encounter becomes part of the bridge leading you to the physical expression of what you already claimed. You are not journeying toward your dreams, you are living from them. The decision is the beginning, and the end is guaranteed. A desire fulfilled begins with a decision. Assume the end and live from it, not toward it. Every transformation starts the moment you choose to accept the final outcome as already done. This decision is not simply an intellectual choice. It is an inner shift in identity. It is the moment you stop being the person who wants and become the person who has. When you decide with conviction that your desire is reality, your inner world aligns with the fulfilled state, and your outer world must follow that alignment. Most people try to manifest from a place of longing. They focus on what they don't have, hoping that eventually they will earn it or attract it. But the more they reinforce the idea that their desire is in the future, the more the future keeps stretching ahead of them. Desire, when paired with waiting, becomes distance, and distance keeps the dream out of reach. The secret is to eliminate the gap between you and what you want. You close that gap by assuming the end as present now. This assumption shifts everything: your thoughts, your tone, your decisions, your energy. You no longer think like someone lacking, because lack is not part of your identity anymore. You speak as the person who has the opportunity, the love, the wealth, the health, the success already in hand. You don't ask if it will happen, you operate with the knowing that it has happened in the unseen and is unfolding visibly. Living from the end means walking through life with the inner satisfaction of the fulfilled desire. You imagine the outcome so vividly and consistently that your inner experience becomes richer and more real than current circumstances. And because the outer world is only a reflection of the inner state you persist in, it must eventually show you the result you have assumed. This is not imagination as escape, this is imagination as creation. When you hold a state of fulfillment with unwavering loyalty, you are planting the seed of your desire in the soil of consciousness. And once planted, the harvest is guaranteed. Doubts may arise, old beliefs may try to pull you backward, but the decision to assume the end gives you a new emotional home. You no longer entertain anything that contradicts your chosen reality. Persistence in assumption is the key. Not force, but certainty. Not struggle, but faith. Every time you affirm the end in your heart and feel its truth, you strengthen the foundation of your manifestation. Soon opportunities appear that you could never have predicted. People show up who are part of your unfolding story. The path forms beneath your feet as you walk in the identity of the one who has already won. The decision is the moment your life changes. The desire becomes real the instant you claim it. You don't wait for the world to prove it. Your assumption itself is the proof. So choose the end boldly. Live from the fulfilled state with joy. Hold the feeling that the victory is already yours. Because once you make that decision, reality has no choice but to obey. 3 days is not about time. It's about unwavering conviction. Time is not what manifests your desire. Belief does. The number of days is symbolic of a state of mind that remains unchanged and loyal to its vision. When you commit to the outcome with your whole being, when your assumption remains firm and unshaken, manifestation can occur swiftly. 3 days represents the period in which you completely detach from doubt and fully embrace the reality of your desired result. Many people think manifestation requires waiting, waiting for signs, waiting for progress, waiting for the world to align. But waiting implies uncertainty. It implies that the desire is not yet here, that the fulfillment is still far away. In truth, manifestation unfolds the instant you decide that what you have imagined is already yours. The 3 days simply symbolize a short season of inner consistency where you refuse to entertain anything contradictory to your assumption. Conviction is the power behind creation. It is the mental and emotional stance that says, "This is done. I have it now." Once you claim that inner truth, you hold it like a precious secret, not seeking validation from the outside, not scanning for evidence. Instead, you rest in a calm expectancy. You trust the unseen process. Your conviction is the seed, and faith is the soil that protects its growth. During those symbolic 3 days, your inner world becomes immovable. Old fears may whisper, circumstances may appear unchanged, but you remain steadfast. You remind yourself that the outer world is only a delayed reflection of what you have already accepted within. You stop surrendering to appearances and instead insist on the reality of your desire through feeling. The conviction becomes so natural that it no longer feels like imagination, it feels like truth. When conviction deepens, everything shifts. You notice your self-talk is different, the tone of your thoughts rises, your behavior aligns with success, love, health, or abundance, whatever it is you have claimed. You no longer ask how long, because you are already living the result internally. Time becomes irrelevant. The creation is already complete, and the physical world simply follows the script you've written in consciousness. The reason manifestation can occur rapidly, within days, hours, or moments, is because the universe responds instantly to inner certainty. There is no resistance when the mind is fully unified with belief. The bridge of events forms quickly because there is nothing opposing the fulfillment. What slows manifestation is not the desire, it is the doubt that competes with it. 3 days is the period of unwavering inner fixation, where you no longer oscillate between belief and disbelief. You choose the end, and you remain in that chosen state. It is the season where the old self dissolves and the new self emerges fully formed. So understand this: 3 days is not a countdown on a calendar. It is a demonstration of mental discipline, emotional loyalty, and spiritual certainty. It is the time it takes for you to stop questioning and start knowing. And once you know, truly know, manifestation becomes inevitable. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible idea and the visible world. It is not enough to merely think about what you want. Thought alone is like a seed that has not yet touched the soil. It carries potential, but without emotional nourishment, it cannot grow or bear fruit. Feeling gives life to thought. Feeling gives shape to the unseen. Feeling is what transforms a simple desire into a living reality. Every moment you experience a desire, the mind may paint a picture of what you want, but it is the feeling, the inner sensation of having it, that begins the manifestation process. When your heart engages with your imagination, the idea becomes more than a mental construct. It becomes a state of consciousness that you embody. The universe responds to that state, not to idle wishing. Feeling is the language creation understands. If you imagine success but feel fear, doubt, or unworthiness, The energy you emit is not aligned with success. You are emotionally tied to the lack of the desire rather than the fulfillment of it. This is why people sometimes say they are manifesting but see no results. They are visualizing the dream while emotionally living the opposite. The world reflects what you feel to be true, not what you hope to be true. Feeling is the evidence of your assumption. It is the inner confirmation that your desire is already yours. When you feel the joy of achievement before the achievement arrives, when you feel the relief of answered prayers before anything changes, when you feel the love of the relationship before the person enters your life, you are signaling to reality that fulfillment is present now, and reality must rise to mirror that presence. Your feelings imprint the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind controls your habits, decisions, perception, and opportunities. When you consistently feel aligned with your desire, you naturally begin to think, act, and respond as the version of you who already has it. Life then organizes itself to support that identity. People show up, circumstances shift, solutions appear, synchronicities unfold. Feeling is the catalyst that activates these changes. The clearer and stronger the feeling, the faster the bridge forms between the invisible and the visible. It doesn't require force or strain. True feeling is effortless. It is the quiet knowing, the soft certainty, the warm inner satisfaction that tells you the outcome is secured. The body relaxes. The mind becomes peaceful. You no longer question if or when. You simply rest in the fulfilled state. So when you imagine your desire, let your heart participate fully. Let your emotions rise into the experience. Feel the end result as if it surrounds you now. Let the joy, gratitude, and confidence fill your imagination with life. For every reality you have ever lived began as a feeling first. Feeling is not just part of the manifestation process. It is the bridge that carries your desire from the unseen realm into the physical world. When the feeling of having becomes stronger than the feeling of wanting, the manifestation is complete. Persist in the inner state until the outer world bends to match it. The reality you experience is a delayed reflection of the assumptions you hold within. It does not instantly show you what you believe. It reveals what you persist in. One moment of imagining is powerful, but persistence is what transforms imagination into form. The world around you may take time to adjust, not because the desire is distant, but because old beliefs and previous assumptions are still playing themselves out. Your job is not to chase change outwardly, but to remain loyal to the inner transformation until it becomes the only truth you recognize. Persistence is the quiet courage of manifestation. It is choosing your inner reality again and again, even when physical evidence has not yet appeared. It is refusing to give attention to contradictions. It is staying faithful to the vision when circumstances seem to argue otherwise. The outer world is only a mirror, and a mirror does not change until the original changes. When you decide that your inner state is the real world, the only world that matters, then the physical realm must follow your lead. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you strengthen the foundation of your new reality. You are imprinting that truth deeper into the subconscious, anchoring it as your identity. And once the subconscious accepts a new identity, the visible world cannot resist reflecting it. Opportunities shift. People respond differently. Paths open that were once invisible. What looked like delay suddenly reveals itself as divine timing. Time Persistence does not mean effort or struggle. It means conscious assumption. It means aligning your inner conversations, reactions, and emotions with your chosen end. Instead of worrying, you affirm. Instead of fearing, you assume. Instead of observing the old, you stay rooted in the new. You do not allow temporary appearances to convince you that nothing is happening, because you know everything is happening beneath the surface. There will be moments where doubt tries to creep in, telling you that nothing is changing. But doubt is only a sign that the old story is losing its power. When you refuse to feed it, it fades. The inner state becomes dominant, and once dominant, it must be expressed. The outer world has no will of its own. It is obedient to the impressions you persistently hold. This is the law of creation. To persist is to declare, "What I want is already mine, and I will not abandon this truth." You remain unmoved in your knowing. You act, think, and feel as the person who has already received. Persistence turns imagination into inevitability. It transforms desire into destiny. So hold your vision firmly. Return to the fulfilled state every time your attention drifts. Trust the unseen movement. Keep your heart anchored in the end result. When you persist long enough, the physical world has no choice but to surrender to the power of your assumption. Reality will bend because you never did. Every event you experience is an echo of what you once assumed. Change the assumption and you change the echo. Life is always reflecting you back to yourself. The situations, people, and outcomes you encounter are not random accidents or twists of fate. They are the mirrored expressions of the beliefs you have accepted as true over time. The inner world speaks first, and the outer world responds. What you assume in the quietness of your mind reverberates into the noise of your daily existence. Your assumptions are the silent scripts that your life follows. They shape your expectations, and those expectations shape your reality. If deep down you believe that things always work out for others but not for you, life will present experiences that support that belief. If you assume love is difficult, relationships will reflect struggle. If you assume abundance is scarce, opportunities will seem limited. These outcomes are not punishments, they are mirrors. They show you the assumptions you have planted within. But the beauty of this truth is that you can rewrite the script at any moment. You do not have to continue living out old stories or repeating familiar patterns. When you change your assumption, you shift the foundation that reality builds upon. A new inner belief creates a new outer response. Life cannot continue echoing the same experiences when the source of those experiences has transformed. Every event is simply the result of past assumptions expressed on a delay. If you do not like the current echo, don't fight the world, change the inner sound. Stop trying to rearrange external circumstances through effort and force. Instead, go to the origin, the mind. Align your thoughts and feelings with the version of yourself who already lives the life you want. Assume that you are deserving. Assume that you are chosen. Assume that you are supported. Assume that things come easily to you. These become new seeds that life must nurture into physical form. Shifting assumptions is not about convincing the world, it's about convincing yourself. When you truly adopt a new inner stance and persist in it, Your reality will eventually reveal that shift. People may treat you differently, unexpected opportunities may arise, solutions become visible. What was once blocked suddenly opens. The echo changes because the original thought has changed. This process requires patience and loyalty to the new assumption. The old echo may continue for a short while because previous beliefs are still dissolving, but instead of reacting to what you see, respond from what you have chosen to believe. Your inner state must remain stronger than the outer reflection. When it does, the world will have no choice but to catch up. Your life is not shaped by chance, it is shaped by assumption. The loudest echo in your reality is the result of the quietest belief in your heart. Change that belief, and your entire world shifts. Every new assumption is a new destiny. Every new state of mind is a new path unfolding. You are the source, and life is the echo. Your life changes the moment you decide to believe in the reality of your desire more than the illusion of delay. When you imagine with conviction, feel with certainty, and persist with unwavering faith, you activate the fastest route to manifestation. You are not waiting on the world is waiting on you. Every shift begins within. Every miracle starts as an assumption you dare to hold. Choose the end. Live from the fulfilled state. Trust the bridge of events. Your desire is already accomplished in the unseen, and soon the visible world will confirm what you have claimed. The power is in you. The authority is in you. Your future is not ahead, it is now. Thank you for listening.